Okay. So I'm specifically going to be talking about the arts and how like my opinion on it and how you could use it as, for example, like a coping mechanism for anything you've experienced negatively or just anything in your lives. I don't. And so when the plan and what we'll be covering, I'm just going to go into slideshow mode. So it's easier for you guys to see. So this is going to be, we're going to go with an introduction, so who I am and what I'm sharing. Then different kinds of the art. So I only use 4 examples just for time reasoning. So I use dance, drawing, music, and writing. So like writing being poetry, anything like that. And then a little background on what mental health is and how you can identify whether or not you're struggling or somebody else is struggling. And then your coping mechanisms, which is just how you can help yourself. And almost any form of art can be used as a coping mechanism or some kind of outlet to let your emotions out. I also believe that art is very personal and delicate, and it's something that's really judged harshly in society, in my opinion. And it's something that needs to be taken less seriously. But opposed to that on mental health and how we would talk about that is that needs to be taken more seriously. I think it needs to be taken as seriously as physical health or anything like that. And it's not talked about enough. Even if it's uncomfortable, it still needs to be talked about. And most people don't even know if they're struggling with it, which is something that I've dealt with. It's something that almost everybody deals with, maybe even on a daily basis. So dance is one form of art. And dance is a way to let your feelings out through movement. And it's a way to show emotion and tell a story without having to speak or really communicate that something's happening. And it lets you express yourself and be open with yourself, and you can move, sweat, jump, and do anything just to free yourself and get your emotions moving simply just by moving. And you can just be happy and hop around and be joyful, or just sit there and move slowly to signify like sadness and loss. Maybe if we still have time at the end, I can share the video.
I can put that on later too after we do the recording.
Yeah. So with drawing is another form of art I wanted to discuss. So the 2 drawings that you're seeing, the tool one and the one with the hourglass in time. So those are 2 that I've done for prompts for art class specifically. So I think that drawing can get your feelings onto paper. It's one of the ways that I personally cope with a lot of stuff, and it's one of my hobbies. And you can use prompt, like on the first one, tools, and on the second one, time. And or you can just like let your hand take the wheel and just not even think and just start drawing on a piece of paper. And it's something that you can visually see instead of just think in your mind. And it's something you can show other people to try and interpret, so they can do their own thinking on it. So music can be song, guitar, composing, or any form of sound. And music can help you let out what you're trying to say in rhymes or in a song. And one example of that is there's love songs for affection. There's songs about grief for coping and being depressed and stuff like that, and sadness and loneliness. And there's songs with a lot of impact, even with no words, like just piano songs or anything like that. And it can tell a really nice story without having to speak. And so writing is like poetry, novels, and illustrations. They're all kind of in the same category. And there's so many emotions that I think can be told and be written and be typed, even if you don't notice it. Like one good example that I think of is like a card that you receive on your birthday, showing some compassion and affection with saying happy birthday, love you, have a nice day. You know, that's one form. It's a writing thing. It's not just, it's something that's showing emotion towards you on a special day that's yours. So with mental health, what is mental health? I wanted to discuss this specifically because I don't think most people know what it is and how it's important. So mental health is a current and ongoing battle with the majority of people. Like most people in their lifetime have struggled with it multiple times. And it's something to be taken very seriously and addressed, even if it's uncomfortable for somebody, because it's good to know. You have to know about it. It's something that I believe should be taken just as it's just as seriously as physical health, because your mental health can lead to physical health, can lead to so many complications when it comes to stress or anything like that. And if it's not addressed, just like, for example, if you had a brain injury, right? Like you're having a brain bleed and you decided, no, I'm not going to address that. That could lead to a stroke, that could lead to even you dying. And that's the same with mental health. If it's not addressed, it can lead to it getting worse to the point of even not even wanting help with it. So you have to address that when it comes to when you're thinking about it. But there's ways that you can cope with it on your own. So specifically, if we don't know what coping is, because sometimes that's a word that's not regularly used, it's a way to help with struggles of anxiety or grief or anything that's affecting you negatively. Everyone has their own ways of coping. So some people have negative ways of coping, some people have positive ways, but this is specifically when it comes to the arts and how you can use it. So one of the signs that someone's struggling with mental health can be their mood, or if they're not socializing with other people, if they're hiding in different clothing, like baggy clothes, to not show off anything on them. And one way you can tell that if you're struggling is changes in thoughts. Maybe you're staying in your room more often, or it feels difficult to get up when it comes to depression, or just feeling anxious even going out in public or getting in your car, or just doing normal regular activities. And one of the ways to cope with how you're feeling using the arts specifically is you can write, for example, like write a book, tell a story, tell your life story, even in your diary. Singing or even dancing your feelings out, so you can just sing about it, or you can play music or anything like that. You don't even have to have experience. It's just something for your own gain. And it can be helpful just to get those emotions out of your body and your mind, and to be able to identify whether or not you are struggling, because it's important for that, even if it's uncomfortable for you, or if you feel like it doesn't matter, because it does, no matter how small it is to you. So when you're thinking of going into a classroom and teaching other people, it's good to be educated on mental health and whether or not you can tell if a student's struggling, because that can lead to them not being able to even do work, for example. It's something that is debilitating for a lot of people. So you can educate them, educate your class or something, being like, are you having different thoughts, or even a very simplified way, just so they know that it's a safe place for them to talk to you or to talk to anybody, and how they can get help if they need it. And maybe in the areas, try and educate yourself on different outlets that they can go to, or you can direct them to, if it's a serious struggle or if anything like that. It's just good to educate yourself on those types of things, and just makes it sure they know it's a safe place. So, and if there's anything you want to add, I'm sure you can comment underneath this to try and I'll make sure I'll ask Grandma to post the link to this document so you can reread it over, or even show other people, just to educate and do that kind of stuff. Do you have anything you want to add?
Well, I want to ask you some questions.
Okay.
A quick way to recap is often to think of the best and the worst.
Mm-hmm.
So my question for you, as a person who is talented in the arts, you've always been that way. So in your experience, even in elementary school, since our program is PJ,
Mm-hmm.
and then in your experience now in high school, can you describe maybe one thing that a teacher did sometime that was helpful to you, that brought out that artistic side, made you feel that it was safe to express yourself? Can you think of any teacher that did that and what they did?
I'm not sure. Maybe them just talking about their own struggles with me or something like that, like saying, Yeah, I'm sad too sometimes, and it would make me feel safer to maybe show them different pieces I've drawn to, like, I remember when I was a kid and you showed me this picture one time, but it was a picture of like when our cat died, right? And so that was a good like example of how that affects you from a young age. Um, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure on, but just like them talking to me about it, you know?
So coming back to relationship with the teachers,
Yeah.
would that summarize it? And we've looked at a few videos that point out that relationship is the key thing. And can you think of something that was a negative? Because like as teachers, we need to know, what the possible, what not to do. So tell me something that was a damper that put you down.
Definitely like the teachers talking negatively about any form of art I did for even art classes or anything like that. Because there's a teaching aspect to giving commentary on you could have done this better. But when they give you like almost a failing mark or something like that, in their opinion, that it's not good enough, or expressing that something I did is not good enough for them, is something that I think pushed me to stop sharing my own stuff because I feel judged. And that's why I think it's too harshly judged in society, because as children, you want to express yourself and show that off to be like, wow, I did this. I'm really proud of it. And when somebody in front of you that you look up to specifically goes, nah, that's not very good. I don't like the shading on that. That damages how you think. It damages how you're looking at a piece of even writing for English, and they constantly, even if they get the point, they just spell check every single little thing you get and don't mark you on what you did and what your opinion is. That's something that's looked over too often, I think, and it's something that negatively affects me.
You stopped drawing for a while, didn't you?
Yeah.
For how long?
A long time. I just
A year or
started
two?
picking it up, yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm not sure.
Is it something like I mean, we've talked in our courses sometimes about things like memorizing stuff is not really the same as learning stuff.
Yeah.
And that say you have a math test or something, and how is that assessed? How is it evaluated for a report card? And really it's with a red pencil. Like, so what you're talking about in the arts it reminds me of the red X's on a spelling test.
Yeah, because they're overlooking what you wrote. They're just looking at, they spelled earth wrong or they spelled something else wrong. And I think that's completely incorrect. Like, the point of art and the point of writing and the point of any of that is to be able to get your opinion across. It's not to be judged about your English and your writing on that. As long as a point gets across, I feel like that's
right,
satisfactory.
Right. So it sort of comes back to that drawing that you did for me, kind of a logo for the course. And if I hold this up, maybe we can see it. And it's reversed, of course, in my picture. It might be, I think it might be right on the way people view it. But so the idea of what is the artist is expressing from their heart.
Yeah.
So it is a delicate thing for someone else to judge it, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the arts.
Yeah, especially in the arts, because it's a way you're expressing yourself. It's a way that you're, like, even when people dye their hair, if you're saying, ew, that's green, like, that'll make somebody feel self-conscious and be like, well, I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. So why are you judging me? Right? Because it's not a teacher's or anybody else's part to say that's not good. It's somebody to critique it and be like, well, that's really awesome, but maybe add more blue, you know, like maybe balance it out,
Yeah.
not be harsh on, oh, you spelt supercalifragilistic wrong. Like a child would know that, you know, as long as I get their opinion across,
Right.
I think is the goal.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to add? That
No, not that I can think of.
Well, I want to thank you as a student and looking at this from a different perspective. It's very helpful, I'm sure, for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm impressed with your presentation abilities. Just great.